Hey friends, welcome back to Cozy with Calinnah, where I dive into my journey as an independent artist, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. Don't forget to watch a new episode every Thursday. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to bring a special guest. She is the founder of Be Here Now, which is a Long Beach-based music and art events company with standout shows like Dear Long Beach, Lost Lucidity, and Trip Out. She is a true visionary, a fearless collaborator, and my dear friend, Vanessa Jimenez. Yay! Welcome to the podcast. Woohoo!
Ooh, thanks for having me, Calinnah.
Of course.
Very, very grateful to be your first guest.
Yes, my first guest on the podcast. I guess we're calling it a podcast now. It's been turning into many things that I'm learning along the way. So thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
Yes. And we're changing the environment a little bit. We're in your beautiful home. I feel like a lot of homes in Long Beach are so pretty and charming, and this is one of them. I want to live here. If we could be neighbors, I would love that. So, but yeah. I wanted to just like bring on more guests, and friends who I admire, and I love their work and their work ethic and everything that they do. So I love that this is even like more special today. So I guess the first question we can dive in. How was your day? How was your day?
Well, it was pretty great. I started off my day doing some computer work, and then I went to the venue that I'm doing my next event at, which is the one you mentioned, Trip Out.
Right.
Always busy. Yeah.
Always busy, girl. I feel like you and I share like that we're always so freaking busy. Like the grind never stops.
Right.
The grind never fucking stops. And
But I love being in the grind.
Yeah, I think I do. I think I always say like, dang, I wish I could like rest. But then like I think a part of me is like, I like to be busy too.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's what gives you energy, but it does take away energy from you. So it is this push and pull kind of aspect of, our industry.
Right. Mm-hmm. Totally. And let's get into like, how did you get into events? Like, let's trace it back to maybe like when you grew up and where you don't have to say where you're from.
Right.
Not everybody wants to say that, but
I don't mind because I feel like that stems from who I am now.
Yeah.
Most of my life I lived in the city of Paramount, which is like, maybe like an 8-mile drive from here.
Paramount,
yeah.
Bellflower. I grew up in Bellflower, so that we're like neighbors. I feel like this whole is like 562 area code. So,
and the next happening city closest to us, has always been Long Beach, and this is where I live now, and where I feel like I've been able to build some roots. But my journey into the event industry started off really where I feel like most people start is through internships. And so I did a lot of unpaid internships, shadowing people, learning from them.
Was it always music related, or like you just worked like different types of internships?
It wasn't necessarily music focused, but there was always a music component to these events, but it wasn't the focal point, and nor was art the focal point, which is the two main things that I focus on when I do my events. So, but I did it all. I mean, I interned for PR companies. I interned for people who do events. I've interned for graphic design work, which is something that I do still for my events, when it comes to marketing and promotion. And
yeah, you make some sick ass flyers. Like
Thank
I've
you.
seen you work on like a bunch of. I like that you're like even your color choices, like the color theory behind your flyers and stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like I could share that memory too. I've worked a lot of internships, didn't get paid.
Yeah.
or they would like, you would work the internship and then at the end of the internship, like we're not hiring,
Right.
so then you learn all these skills. Like I've worked like market research, fashion, merchandising, like all these types of different types of internships, which I feel like has prepared me with just a different skill set. And I feel like you have a lot of skills too, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you don't necessarily have to do internships in order to learn. I think another thing is just surrounding yourself with a community, with people who have more experience and who can lend a hand in whether that is with ideas or, things you can do to make whatever it is that you are doing better. And for myself, it's events. And so I work for a company. I work for two companies actually. One is I Love Micheladas. They do these large scale, very popular events, which is called First Fridays. And so even now, even from the outsider's perspective, I've had people kind of tell me like, oh, like, they're so amazing. And like the production is, you do it so well and everything just feels very intentional.
Yeah.
And it does root from the likeness of the fact that I am trying to present something that I would want to attend
Right.
or how I would want to be treated, even from the point of when I arrived to the event, like the people at the check-in, are they friendly? Are they welcoming,
The experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
every detail matters to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't necessarily learn that from anywhere specific through my internships. It came from really working in hospitality. Like I still work in hospitality now. Like I wish I could make a living off of my events, but that's not, that's the hard fact of it right now, is that I
Right.
don't live off of making events, a livelihood. And, I beer tend right now, and I work in production, and I'm a venue manager. So all of
Right.
these things are fueling what I hope to one day like be my day to day.
Yeah, same. Like I feel like that's why I've also wanted to shed light on this podcast, because I feel like a lot of people do this. Like I'm not making all my money off of streaming.
No,
like
absolutely.
like music streaming is so little. It's just a little portion of being an artist. And I mean, I'm a nurse in the day, and that takes up a lot of my time because it's like a full-time gig. And you work a few jobs, right? But I think I've learned a lot of skills, even though it's not a creative field. It's definitely taught me a lot about like hard work, working your ass off,
Yeah.
um, customer service, like reading people. I feel like it's also helped me like read rooms. Also, like when I'm performing, like you like look at people, and you kind of can read what's going on, and that's helped me too. Like in just like little things that I never thought would be relevant.
Right.
And I think that you're killing it. You're doing great. I have yet to visit the Smorg
Right.
event. I've been there like before, but
Yeah.
I have to go and visit you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There most Sundays, you guys.
Yeah. Check that out. And so you do events for them?
I for I Love Micheladas, which is the First Friday event. I work in part of the production team, more in the staffing wise, where I staff, enroll, do payroll, and a little bit of pre-production event needs. And
Okay.
so they have me in there kind of doing a little bit of everything. And I think they've realized that I can kind of be thrown into whatever, position or be given any task, and I would
Right.
rise to the occasion.
Right.
And so for me, it's really just I want to be in the mix of it all because they're running at a scale that I'm not, but I will one day.
Right.
And I'm trying to, sponge up as much as possible in order for me to
Yeah.
take that back into Be Here Now and my events, because I do genuinely feel that I have the creative side of doing my events, but then there's this whole business side that I'm so
Yeah.
green in.
Yeah.
And don't be shy about it, guys.
Don't be shy about it.
Ask
Yeah,
for help.
let's
Read
talk.
books,
Yeah,
because I know you read a lot of books.
I
So
read a lot. I feel
yeah.
like I read so many, like I read books because I run into problems. And like for example, I was just talking about this. I wanted to get better at finances, so I read a book about finance.
Yeah.
And then
It's
I
really
like,
that simple.
yeah, like this, like
Yeah.
even YouTube. I read a book called The YouTube Formula because I was like, what do I need to know about YouTube? And even though like the what do you call it? Like the concepts may change, or like some of the trends may
Or
change.
they may
Like,
not pertain to
yeah, they
you,
might not
but
pertain to me,
yeah.
but at least it's good to have that knowledge so that you
Yeah.
can start thinking like someone who's like a YouTuber or like whatever. So I read like a lot, like now, especially I feel like, because if you don't have a mentor, who's going to teach you these things, right?
Yeah.
So, and even if you read the book, you can try it in real time and it won't necessarily like translate all the time what you think what the end result will be. It's not always like that.
Definitely.
But
And I think
yeah.
the more knowledge you have, the quicker you get at resolving things. And for
Right.
me, it's very much so that, working hospitality, I I mean, I worked at Domino's, so that taught me, like you said, customer service and speed almost, and multitasking, and
Yeah.
having that skill set, and also that mentality of having patience is so needed in my industry, because things could happen at the drop of a dime, and things that maybe you could think of a million ways of how something can go wrong, even though you hope that it doesn't.
Right.
But it's the proactive mindset that most people should have in order to alleviate any stress that you may cause yourself in the moment, because you just you some people are a little bit too optimistic. And
But the reality is
yeah.
that shit happens. But yeah, so like, yeah, I think when I first started like taking this more seriously, I ran into so many issues and everything was just so like overwhelming. And now it's kind of like, okay, now that I've done like a few shows, I've like created events and things like that. It's like, okay, now I'm trying not to look at like problems as too big of obstacles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now it's like, okay, now like what's the fastest way that I could figure this out and then like move on to the next thing? Because like the more that you dwell on, like the problem, you're just, I feel like as creatives, we get in our heads a lot and then like we just sulk in that and then like we don't move forward. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, but yeah, let's talk about Gray. So how did you you've done a lot of events at Gray and she's done a lot of venues in Long Beach which have been amazing. How did you get into that? Like did you just ask around and
Gray came up on my radar simply because I was looking for a last minute change of a venue
okay.
for Lucidity for the first year, and my first venue fell through, and so I was on the hunt for a new venue, and I found them on Yelp. And
Oh,
it took many tries to get in contact with someone, so I was
okay.
freaking out, and I finally was able to get a walkthrough. I saw
Okay.
the space and it was amazing. Most people don't know that the venue is there because it is tucked away,
Yeah.
and I think it was one of the perfect venues simply because it offered indoor outdoor activities. So I had the art portion. So many of my events, if not all, have a music and an art component
Right.
where I'll have, bands, DJs, and inside I'll have different various artists of different mediums who will showcase photography or
Love that.
paintings. I've had people do sculptures, and a lot of the art also comes from the visual projection artists that I have on. And well, yeah, and so I ended up doing Lost Lucidity there, and
Oh, so Lost Lucidity was at Gray.
great, yeah. So that's where it started.
Ah, okay.
And eventually I built relationships with those who worked at Gray, the owners, Bob and Robert,
Shout
and
out Rob,
Rob and Bobby. Sorry.
Rob and Bobby.
Actually, they're both called Robert, but we had to distinguish one over the other. So that's why they're called what they are. But
Gotcha.
so yeah, I mean, I knew that they had the venue and they were in production, and I would like bug them often. I'm like, hey, if you're hiring, like let me know. Like I'm interested in working because at the time, I was actually working a front desk job because the event company that I used to work for, you know, wasn't, and it didn't exist anymore because of the pandemic. And so
Oh,
and
yeah.
so I was looking for something that fueled me as someone who was taking on this new endeavor of doing events, and I just wanted to surround myself with more of that, and that's how I ended up at Gray. The production side eventually got dissolved, so now I currently still work at the venue as a venue manager and helping out book out the space, and I still operate out of that venue for one specific event, which is Deer Long Beach. I no longer do
Yes.
Lost City there. It ran
Okay.
its course for just that 1 year, and then I did it at the Edison, which is just a street over. And then this past year, I moved it to Alter, which is where I think That's where its home is gonna live going forward until maybe I decide to scale it. Which is where I want this to be the end game for me, is to scale all these events into one giant festival here in Long
Hell
Beach
yeah.
specifically.
Oh
Yeah,
my
so
God. I'm so excited.
when I don't know, and I think, and I'm okay with not giving myself a set date when that happens. I think I would hope that I have a long life, so therefore I have a lot of time to get to that point.
And you are on your way already. I mean, I feel like Long Beach is on the come up. Don't tell nobody. It's already getting pretty freaking expensive. But we all know like the Olympics are coming in 2028. There's talks about the amphitheater
Yeah.
that's gonna be in downtown, so that's huge.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about Dear Long Beach. How I know you talked before that. I think it came about during COVID or during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So how,
So I was already unemployed before the pandemic hit, but I was doing like side gigs. And
okay.
then so the pandemic hit, and I was like, "Oh, I'm still unemployed, but I'm getting extra money." And
Hell
so
yeah.
and
Thank you,
so
government, back then.
right. And yeah, I mean, in truth, the way me doing events conspired was really just the thought process of what do I want to do? And looking back on my portfolio of all the things I've learned, And so, and then obviously, integrating the things that I'm passionate about.
Right.
And so music, is big for me because like many, it makes them happy. For me, I love to dance.
Me
And
too. That's why we get along.
yeah.
We're always dancing on the dance floor, y'all.
and
Yeah.
and I love going to festivals,
Same.
and the nature of going there for people that but then you know seeing those gems of artists that you wouldn't have known otherwise if you weren't there. And so that's very much so how I want my events to be experiences. Yeah, you'll know a couple of bands, if not all, but come to these events because um, there's going to be a great amount of talent there,
Right.
and up and coming artists,
Right.
right? So that's really the main focus for Dear Long Beach is that it's focused on the local level, and it's focused on the upcoming artists, which really
Yeah.
there in Long Beach there's very very few artists that have really broke into the scene and are making a living out of it,
Right.
and have gained a lot of popularity. But give it, I would say, like 2 more years,
I
and there's
feel
going to
like
be
it's,
a
yeah, there's,
huge amount of people coming out of Long Beach. And
I
yeah,
definitely, it's crazy because there's so much talent in Long Beach, but I feel like everybody doesn't highlight, like it's always LA and never highlighting Long Beach as much. But there's a lot of talented people in here. Like, I feel like I can go to any show in Long Beach and the music, like, I won't even know the artist or the band, but there's always good music I can dance to.
yeah,
All I like learning about new artists. I don't know, like some people, and then if I go to LA, it's like I spend a lot of money to go and like watch an artist, and like it's insane.
yeah. And here in Long Beach specifically, we don't have many venues that host music
Right,
events,
right,
or,
that's true.
or both music and art events. And so the idea of Be Here Now is that I pop up in various locations that are maybe don't have a lot of activity of these offerings or at all. I kind of thrive in blank spaces.
Love blank
Even though
spaces.
even though it is nice to have locations that have an actual stage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because then
Um,
you have to build the stage too.
yeah,
That's a lot of work.
definitely not a lot of work on my part since I'm not
Oh.
building it, but definitely more money to invest
Oh,
in.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
a lot of all of these events really come out of my own pocket, and in hopes that I
Girl,
see
yeah.
the return through ticket sales. So
Yeah.
sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, and even when I do, it's not a lot. I'm so ambitious in creating an experience for people who come to these events, because I am so grateful that anyone wants to spend any amount of money to come to my events. And all I hope is that people have an awesome experience.
Yeah.
Not just, a great experience with who they saw, but a great experience with the collective of people I was able to bring
Right.
to share, a certain likeness of the genre, or even the fact of just supporting local talent. Going back to Dear Long Beach, the
Yeah.
reason I started that was because, again, there's not too many platforms that we get to be on, spotlighted in here in Long Beach, because there's very few places. And so for me to build, a pop-up location where I can handpick certain artists who deserve to be praised for their talent, but also to be seen and recognized, in hopes that takes them, and their growth
Yeah.
keeps continuing. So, these events shouldn't just be more about, I mean, they aren't just about the music and the art, but it's about the community and coming
Definitely.
together. And naturally, they're building connections with each other, So it's like building this hub for people who are in the creative industry, and they find each other there, like here in the spaces that I'm creating. And I'm super thankful to still be in the game. I've only been doing it for like 4 years, and I have learned a lot, but there's just so much that I still need to learn to this day. Yeah.
Well, I feel like learning is always like a part of it, you know? Like people who are successful or whatever that means, right?
Right.
Is like the people who are willing to like continuously learn and learn and learn, because that's life. Because if you stop learning, I mean, you're kind of just in the same
Yeah, you're
place, right?
stagnant.
You're
Yeah.
stagnant, exactly. I did want to say thank you for putting me on. My very first show was at Deer Long Beach. We got to highlight Vanessa. Clap, clap, clap. Because,
I mean, we gotta highlight you too, because
girl,
you didn't give like the people just the piece of a cake. You gave them the whole cake. Like what you did at that show is like something that you don't get to see in Long Beach ever. Like to have yourself singing, a band, and then backup dancers. It was a whole
girl,
production, and I think that was like the cherry on top of that year where you performed at Dear Long Beach, because it was something that most people just I can promise you most people were not expecting that. And for you
girl, I
to,
wasn't even.
yeah.
Girl, let me just tell you, like, I remember when you asked me to do that show, and I was almost about to be like, I don't think I could do it because
Yeah.
I didn't even have songs. Like, I didn't even have songs, and then I just started working with the producer, and I was like, I gotta have songs for this show.
Yeah.
So we literally created songs for the show. I think I had like maybe how long was that set? Like
It was a 30-minute set.
at 30, I probably did like 20 something minutes or barely. And then I was like, I've never performed with a band. Like I feel like a
Yeah.
band would be sick. And then I asked around, and like luckily Miguel, shout out Miguel, day one right there. Um took a chance and then created like this band for the show. And then so I had never performed with a live band like that with my own songs. And then also I was like, why not? I think it was like getting close to like, I think you gave me like a month or something. Then it was getting closer, and I was like, you know what? What if I have like backup dancer?
Yeah.
Like, who can I fucking hire for?
How can I add more
How can I add
stress?
more stress to my life? More challenges. I don't know. Like
No.
I don't know. I'm crazy. But yeah, so thank you. That
Yeah.
was a beautiful show. I love that venue too. I think like that's such a beautiful space. And I've also, that was where the Tiny Desk, the recent one was. So
Yeah.
thank you for that,
Of
girl.
course. Yeah. I think it's nothing warms my heart more when I ask specific artists or bands or those who are part of the showcase, and they show a lot of excitement when at the from the moment that they get asked to leading into the event, because without that I don't know if I would continue, because I think it helps me to know that I have some sort of impact in these artists' lives, because at the end of the day, that's where all of this even roots from.
Right.
It's one, it does come from the fact that I want to surround myself with as much music and as much art as possible, and to be starting to figure out how to do that through events has made me really
Mm-hmm.
happy. And to be able to associate with a lot of these you know, musicians and artists, it has not it has opened my eyes a lot to their world. And I've also been able to like integrate myself in things during the event. So like, girl, I've like in the beginning I've like I'm open to learning a lot, you know, right? Because I think in order for me to hire the right people, I need to know a little bit of something or know how to identify it in order to successfully like partner with people. So
Oh,
I've been
yeah, collaboration.
yeah, so I mean,
Huge.
I started to do my own lighting a little bit, and I would
Ooh.
help be to be as a stagehand. I mean, like
It's all
I'm
connected.
everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, like, and I feel like the more that you learn that, you're building these skills on your resume, and then so like when you have your event, like you don't have to know all the
Right.
things, but you know enough to be like, okay, why is that like that? Like you got to fix that. Like you can be the one to manage it because you know a little bit about it,
Right.
and that helps.
Definitely. I've self-produced them myself. This past year, I've had the pleasure of bringing on my friend Yvette for
Yes,
Lucidity.
shout
We
out.
love
We love
her.
her. She's a baddie.
Yeah. And so I've been very fortunate to have her help me to start producing more Lucidity events, which is all my events are on an annual base. So for the reasons being is because I want to keep scaling them, and I
Right.
still have a day job, you know, so
Yes.
it has to be within a balance. And I also take account of my mental health a lot too, you
Yeah, let's
know.
talk about
Yeah.
that. Mental health, girl,
Yeah.
because I be struggling with the
Yeah.
mental health. Well, I mean, I think we all do, right? Because as creatives, like, we're always questioning, like, is this good?
Yeah.
Like, am I doing a good job? And, like, you don't really know. There's no gauge, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the point is to, like, not care and to like just do your thing and like not care what
Yeah.
other people think, but you also want them to enjoy what you also love to share
Right.
with the world. So I mean, mental health I think is huge, um, with anything, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's good that we're highlighting mental health more so now than maybe like our parents' generation,
Yeah.
because we didn't talk about those things,
Yeah.
and now we have like terms for what we're going through. So, yeah, I guess as a creative, how do you get yourself out of that funk?
It has to do a little bit with what I'm already doing with my events. You know, there's this mundane part where I have to do a lot of the logistics planning and getting everything in order. And I don't necessarily see it as boring, but I definitely see it as a little bit stressful.
Yeah,
And so, but it's what I need to do. And so
right.
I'm going to do it. But what
Can't
helps,
tell her. Can't tell her nothing else.
but what helps kind of counterbalance that is that I get to also be creative.
Yes.
Outside of building these lineups, outside of building this experience for these events, I get to do creative work through my graphic design. I went to school for graphic design.
Oh, you went to school for graphic
Yeah, at
design.
Cal State Long Beach, and for a while, it wasn't
Hey.
really living to its potential of all the time and money I put into, being in the art department over there. But everything kind of just fell into place, for me towards the end. So I don't necessarily love doing graphic design work for other people because that takes away a lot of
Your
my
creative.
personal
Yeah.
creativity. And I'm working on their deadlines and,
Uh,
you know, trying to make them happy, which I don't, you know, I've taken a lot of commission work in the
yeah.
past, but I've, you know, you come to realize, you know, what you like and what you don't like. And that also has a huge connection to your stress. You
Mm,
know, like I'm not looking for things that I don't want to do because that's gonna create stress for what, you know?
right.
Like so the way that I've been able to manage my stress is through that, and you know, finding more outlets, which I have is, you know, doing my graphic design work, but also simply just like taking a walk and
Yeah.
getting some sunshine.
Honestly, yes.
When there, I mean,
Going to the
there's a
beach.
lot of days where we do get sunshine,
I know we live in such a beautiful.
and you know,
Yeah.
I can't depend on sunshine when there isn't any. So, you
So
know,
you got to be the
so
sunshine
I
girl.
listen to music, you know.
You're right.
You know, that's, you know, going back to my rhyme and reason as to why I do events is I love discovering music. I love going to my local hubs for music, and one of them being is Vine. Vine has a great music program and a huge community behind it.
Yeah.
The owner, Dustin, does a really good job of also handpicking like his workers there, and everything about that place
I like that place.
is amazing. And you know, even before that, when it used to be owned by Jim, who is the owner of Bamboo, which also has again a really great music program as well. And then of course you can't leave out Alex's Bar.
Hell yeah.
You know, I've
Thanks,
you
Alex's
can
bar.
catch me there pretty often, and you know, without any of these hubs, I wouldn't be able to have access to a lot of the local talent that I've been able to discover,
Right.
and who you know, I've handpicked a few for some of the events that I've done in the past, and even for the one that's coming up this Saturday.
Hell
So,
yeah. Wait, let's
but
talk about this show.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, we could edit this out if this is after the show,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you know,
Sure. I
let's do it.
mean, so this event that's coming up on April the 26th,
April the 26th, y'all. Come through.
it's called Trip Out, and the first year I did it at Edison, and for the second year I'm doing it at Roxanne's. So Roxanne's is this, you know, no pun intended, but a very trippy venue because of the fact that, you know, you enter into Roxanne's, and it's, you know, it's its normal floor plan of,
Right.
you know, what is, you know, what became of Roxanne's, you know, it's at its core, you know, you have a bar, you have a pool table, but then next to the pool table you have a phone booth, which leads you
All
into
right.
a
I
speakeasy
forgot
room,
about that.
which is called the exhibition room,
Okay.
which will be called the electric soundbox for this event that's coming up. My really great friend Edgar, he does these also these like very integrated music and art, and he throws in like comedy. So that's where
We
he,
love Edgar.
yeah, I mean, he's a musician. He's a Renaissance man. Honestly, he's amazing, and I'm very thankful to have him on to activate the speakeasy room, and
Cool.
to Summit. You know, as a whole, it is a psych based event, and I'll be programming what will be the outdoor area where we will have the main stage at. And we have, you know,
Cool.
you have your art installation artists that are doing this build out for the event, that are doing 3D projection mapping, and that's so rad. And it's a visual experience, and you know, I hope people you know, who go can appreciate it, because it is hand built by this collective called Thailand, and which are from LA. And we
Oh.
have Stranger Liquids, who will be doing the visuals for the main stage. And I have a band that's coming from Mexico City called Petit
Hey.
Ami, and
Ooh.
I've been following them for a while, and I'm so excited to finally be able to see them perform live. And to top it off, it's like they're gonna come and perform at an event that I'm putting on, and
Get a girl.
and it brings me so much joy to be able to put these shows on, and I do all the hard work, and I do as much as I can so that when the day comes, when
Yeah.
doors open, like I can, enjoy the fruits
Enjoy.
of my
Yeah.
labor. And so,
Well, with that, I feel like comes like great planning,
yeah,
right? I think like with even my like yours is on a whole grand more scale than me, like because it's just like me, but you're like managing like multiple things
yeah,
in the event. But yeah, I feel like honestly, like I'm an event planner. Like
yeah.
I have to like negotiate, and then I
Really,
have to.
you're an artist manager,
I'm an artist manager.
but you
Yeah.
also are an event planner in its respect, because there's things that they cross paths a lot. A lot of what you do is a lot of what I do. It just looks different.
Right. It's just like a different field, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah. We can end it a little bit with, I guess, like what I feel like people who are just starting out and wanting to do what you want to do. Like, what do you think? How do you think people get into it? Do you think that they have to have the skills to start doing this, or what kind of skills do they need to do what you do?
Right. Um, I think there's two sides to doing what I do, and one is, either you have the creativity or you have the business mindset. And if you have the creativity, you can partner with someone that has the business mindset. And if you have the
Mm.
business mindset, but you don't have a whole lot of creativity, then you find someone that does.
Oh, interesting.
And you have to be realistic and um, recognize your strengths and your weaknesses, but also whether or not you need partners,
Mm.
because sometimes, too many people, meaning like too many cooks in the kitchen, might not be great.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you can handle a lot on your own? And if not, how do you find and lean on to others that can?
Do you think are there like internships for these types of things, like
That
events, or like do you think like marketing has helped you, or like
I think when it comes to saying, "Hey, I'm gonna put on a show," wherever I do it, I'm gonna convince these people that it's gonna be amazing, because my first event, I did it at a like indoor outdoor restaurant slash bar,
okay.
and they were not very like convinced, like, I'm gonna close down to the public in order for you to have this event. And there's a little bit of that. There's always going to be someone who is not going to be convinced of
Right.
your output. And being that I didn't have any really experience on paper of producing an event, to say like, hey, like, I've done stuff, and now I do. And with this event that's coming up, they reached out to me and said, hey, like, if you ever want
Oh,
to do an event here, like, let us know.
wow.
So, but to bring it back to whether like, how do you start doing these things? And I feel like people have said this many a times, and it's just start doing it.
Right.
But it does help to have certain people kind of like help build a structure, or a map, or a guide to execute something. And when I did my first event, it it did um, it did help to have a village of people to connect me with others,
Mm.
because I had the ideas, but I didn't necessarily have the people.
Ah.
So my our friend Blade.
Shout out Blade.
He's an amazing sound engineer, and my boyfriend London connected me to him,
Shout out
and
London.
shout out London. Who has been a very supportive partner throughout my event making endeavors.
Yeah.
And so and then my friend Jerry, who does accounting and who is a creative himself, helped me build kind of a structure of like just simple things of like if I sell X amount of tickets, like how much money will I have, and
Yeah, the
creating a
math.
budget and try
The
not to go
budget.
over my budget.
Girl.
And
Hmm.
which I find myself kind of doing a lot because I'm just so
You're passionate. I'm the same
yeah.
way. Like when well, girl, I spent so much money last year and I kind of was not looking at the numbers. And then this year I was like,
Yeah.
oops.
Yeah.
But then it's like, you kind of like see like, oh, like everything that I wanted, like it
Mhm.
literally happened
Yeah.
because you invested yourself and you invested into your art and your
Mhm.
creativity and it like, a lot of these, I feel like business, you are going to be under for how many years?
Yeah.
Realistically, like everybody wants to be a business owner, but that
Yeah.
shit is hard. It's a lot of
Yeah.
work. How are you going to fund your art? First of
Mhm.
all, how are you going to fund your business if you don't know anybody? And yeah, it's a lot to put on yourself for like to live this like
Yeah.
flexible on your own terms kind of life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're doing an amazing job, sweetie.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
I love it. I love it.
but I think anyone can do what I do, and I say that um, wholeheartedly because a lot of what holds people back is fear, and
Right.
it's fearful thoughts. And once you're able to like move past that, then you do get moments of feeling invincible,
Mm-hmm.
and
And then you get
but
humbled
then
real quick.
but then you get
Then
humbled
you
real
get real, yeah.
quick, and
Right.
being in this industry, like I've had a lot of ups and downs, and it changes, and it could change within hours or days, like from one day to the next or from 1 hour to the next,
Seriously.
because I'm in a constant battle with myself of can I execute this, like, oh, or just having these like doubtful thoughts, or you maybe start overthinking, like what if this happened. I'm like, so
Totally.
um to kind of go to the very start of like Be Here Now, and the name Be Here Now, and it roots from being in the moment, and if you're really in the moment, you don't have time to be thinking,
Mm. Too far
tomorrow, too
ahead.
far
Too far
ahead,
ahead. Yeah.
which sometimes can cause a lot of headache for no reason, stress for no reason, because those things have not happened.
Right.
They might not ever
Right.
happen. And so it's just more of me trying to come back to myself and just dealing what I can, or doing what I can, um, within each moment that I'm living, as I'm planning, and being one person, I could only do so much, and it's also not giving myself such a hard time.
Yes.
I do get some energy back, a lot of fuel um, comes back into me when I'm out, at these shows, and I'm within the community, and I have people tell me how much fun they've had, or how grateful they are for being a part of my events. And that means a lot because I do care a lot about these artists, like we do these walkthroughs, specifically for like the art installation artists. I'm like, how can I be of service to you? How can we make your
Right.
vision, come to life? I never give them parameters to work around. If anything, I'm like, keep thinking outside the box. We'll figure it out
That's a
together,
beautiful
you
thing.
know? So,
I love
and
that.
for me, it's more, it's a lot about them, and, and for me to feel like, we're doing this together. And, and for selfish reasons, like, I do these events because I get to essentially kind of have like my own, my own,
Right.
my own private shows,
It's like
even
an
though
yeah, it's an
and
event.
they're public, but I mean, like,
It's for you
it's for
too.
me. In the end, these events are for me in hopes that I find my people who are like me,
Right.
who are interested in the same things that I am. And so I'm building a community of people that I can feel good around,
Right.
even though, many of them are like people that I'm familiar with, but then there's these strangers that still feel like, you know, great
Yeah.
because they're stepping into an event that I feel like I hope they have a connection to it. So,
I love
yeah.
that. Oh, we
Yeah.
love it. Oh my God. Yeah. So I mean, wow, we didn't even need these. We didn't even need this. So I just wanted to say thank you for
Yeah.
coming here and being on the podcast and just speaking so well. And I think so highly of you. So
Oh.
don't make me cry.
No.
Ah!
No, I mean, not to make this longer than it needs to, but I also am very, fortunate to have a friend like you. And
Oh,
I think our relationship has grown so much since we
definitely.
first met. And
Mhm.
um, it's good. It's good to have to see people, grow within their field.
Yeah.
And I feel inspired by you,
Same.
even though we're not doing the exact same things. We're still within each other's, like, um, realm.
Right.
I'm putting on the events and you're
Yes.
performing
Yes.
at
Yes. Yes.
events.
Hmm.
So I think, with that alone, like, I've been able to understand artists through you, and the fact that, even with myself, that, there's a lot of things that people see from the outside, but they're not seeing the behind the scenes, which is,
Girl, they don't know.
we're working so hard.
So there's so much that goes
Yeah.
behind like events and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
more power to you. Can't do you want to promote anything? Yeah, do
I
it,
mean,
girl.
I think, Dear Long Beach is gonna be one of my favorite events, even though, like, Trip Out is one of my favorite genres, focusing on psychedelic music. And then, Lucidity has just, grown very quickly. And
Hmm.
I
Dude, those
love
events are
I love punk and
crazy.
dark wave as well. And
Yeah,
so I don't know if it's the Gemini in me, but I definitely have a pretty broad library of music interests that I have. But with
totally.
Dear Long Beach, like, I kind of, it's a mixed bag of genres. And it includes, like, almost all my favorite people who I get to choose to perform. Some of them are friends, some of them are acquaintances, some of them
Hmm.
are people who I randomly saw because I decided to go to a specific venue one night.
Right.
And so, yeah, Dear Long Beach is gonna be one of the events that is gonna live in my heart forever, because of simply because of the community that I've been able to be a part of, which includes you too. Yeah.
Hey, give it up for Vanessa
Yeah. Give
Jimenez.
it up
Clap, clap,
for
clap, clap.
Kalina.
All right. Well, I got my allergies, bro. Ooh, okay. So we're gonna end it on that. Thank you all for listening and just tuning into this very first episode. So glad to have you here. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and watch a new episode every Thursday. Cozy with
Kalina.
Kalina. All
Woo.
right.
Thank you.
Bye.